It's happening. And if you think this is just another new moon, you're already falling for the illusion. There's no need to fear it, but ignoring it could spark sudden, irreversible shifts. Right now everyone's scanning the sky for a sign, not realizing this time the sign is the silence itself. That's the true force of this moon. It doesn't roar, it rearranges everything in the background. Quietly, invisibly. While people chase the spectacle of full moons and eclipses, this one operates in the margins, unseen, yet utterly transformative. Many will dismiss it as a void in the lunar cycle. That's their mistake. This isn't just a pause, it's a trigger point, a precision moment where the veil doesn't just thin, it slices. And that's exactly why isolation is non-negotiable. This isn't about self-care or reflection. It's about shielding your field from something far more precise and unforgiving. Most won't even know they're entangled in this energy, but you're not most people. If you're surrounded by the wrong energies during this portal, their chaos becomes your karma. This moon isn't whispering a gentle retreat. It's making a clear demand: disengage. Not out of weakness, but as a strategy for survival. During this phase, there's no glow, no mirror to show you who you are, just a blackout. And in that void, others spill their fears, projections, and unresolved pain into the open. Stay too close, and you'll soak it up like static. This isn't poetic, it's tactical. Right now you're either anchored in your own energy or becoming a host for someone else's breakdown. Think of this moon as a universal reset switch, but it only activates if your frequency is clear, and the air, it's thick with noise, spiritual distortion, desperation, manipulation. One wrong interaction, a message, a conversation, a glance, could send you off course. So if your instinct is to vanish, honor it, because what's coming after this won't wait, and it won't arrive kindly. What you're feeling right now may not be the truth. This is exactly why you shouldn't trust your senses during this moon. At this moment, your instincts are compromised. And the most dangerous part is you probably won't even notice, because everything feels so real. This is the blackout effect, a strange disorientation that happens when the moon vanishes from the sky and takes your spiritual compass with it. During a full moon, we're drenched in light, reflection, and contrast. But with this new moon, the mirror goes dark. Suddenly there's no feedback, no energetic reflection, and the usual ways you make decisions, your gut feelings, those intuitive hits, even your emotional cues, can be completely off. Stillness in this phase doesn't always mean clarity. Sometimes it's just distortion, dressed up as quiet. That moment of confidence you felt today, it could be nothing more than a false burst of ego. The wave of emptiness, it might not be sadness at all, but a spiritual silence that's too easily mistaken for a lack of purpose. Even those intuitive nudges urging you to reach out to someone from your past, be cautious. You might not be receiving true guidance right now, but rather echoing someone else's pull, not your own. This moon is notorious for distorting the signal, and it does so in complete silence. You won't hear the distortion, you'll just feel something and believe it's your truth. When it might just be unanchored energy floating around, you can't read the signs if the ink hasn't dried yet. So during this moon, resist the urge to interpret. Don't label your feelings as conclusions, just observe. Sit with them, don't let that first impulse narrate your entire path, because right now your perception is showing you what's missing, not what's actually happening. This 72-hour window can either open the door to your next path or trap you in limbo. Most people treat the new moon as just a moment, but by the time you're watching this, you're already inside the portal. We're right here, right now, in the heart of it. Day 2 of a 3-day tunnel, July 24th, 25th, and 26th. Here's the truth, you haven't missed your chance, but if you waste today, the next cycle will lock in without your real imprint. This isn't only about what happens during the moon, but also about what you do before and after, because that's what seals your trajectory. The 72-hour window is alive, and it's listening. Whatever you feed it right now will become the foundation for your next timeline. The issue is most people waste this energy. They fill it with noise, screens, food, endless busyness, small talk, mindless scrolling, anything to numb out. They treat it like any other day, and the portal closes with nothing real from them. So take a walk without your phone. Fast if your body calls for it. Say no to anything that feels convenient but unnecessary. Don't go chasing signs. Let them come to you if they're meant to. Because this isn't a test of how much you do, it's a test of presence. You can either sit with the blank page or fill it up with the same old story. And when this portal closes, you'll be stuck inside whatever you were too restless to escape. Quick pause, family. If this message resonates with your soul and you'd like to support this sacred work, you can buy me a coffee. Your support keeps this space flowing with truth, light, and divine clarity. The link is in the description, and drop the number 88 in the comments if you're feeling this. Let's keep going. You're not in the process of building something new right now. You're actually being cleared out for something you didn't consciously choose. People love to say that the new moon brings a fresh start, a blank canvas, or a golden opportunity to manifest your next chapter. But that's not what's really happening here. This isn't an invitation to begin anew. It's a process of being stripped down, emptied out and cleared. Not in a gentle or poetic way, but in a way that feels like you're being dismantled from the inside out. You're not stepping into your future just yet. Your future is moving through you, clearing space in ways you don't control. There's no choosing what stays or what goes this time, and that's what makes it so disorienting. On the surface, it might feel like you're failing. Projects stall, conversations dry up, motivation seems to vanish, and things that excited you just last week now feel completely hollow. You might even start questioning your edge, feeling numb or irrelevant almost overnight. But this isn't the end of your story. It's more like rinsing the glass before anything new can be poured in. You're not being delayed. You're being drained of everything that can't follow you forward. What makes this phase even more intense is that it's not about your current goals or desires. The energy now is cutting ties with things you believed were essential to your path. It's a deep cleanse that your conscious mind hasn't quite caught up to. The plan you thought you were following is being rewritten behind the scenes. So if you're feeling lost in a fog, if everything seems to be on pause, or if the silence feels almost unbearable, that's actually a good sign. It means the process has already started. The emptiness you're experiencing isn't a problem. It's the very signal that something new is about to come in, something so unfamiliar that your current self wouldn't even recognize it. Don't fight to make things happen right now. Don't force progress or try to demand clarity. This phase isn't about building up. It's about the breakdown before the real foundation can be poured. And if it feels like everything is slipping through your fingers, maybe it's just because your hands are finally being freed up for what's next. Sudden silence, waves of restlessness, and a loss of appetite. These aren't just random physical quirks. They're signals from your body that a deep spiritual cleanse is underway. Let's get real about what's actually happening to you right now, because while your mind might still be scrambling to make sense of things, your body is already immersed in this energetic shift. One of the clearest signs that this intense energy is active is the way your internal rhythms suddenly go haywire. Maybe you're sleeping too much, or you can't seem to fall asleep at all. You might find yourself wide awake at 3 a.m. with your mind racing, or you might feel weighed down, exhausted and foggy by noon. There's no steady ground, only a constant flux. You might even feel completely disconnected from your usual appetite, forgetting to eat or craving foods you haven't touched in years. But it's not really about the food itself. It's about your body struggling to recalibrate while your energetic system is being rewired behind the scenes. Your physical self always gets the memo before your conscious mind does. There's also this surreal sensation of hovering, of being only halfway anchored in your own life. It's like you're watching yourself from the outside, moving through conversations, walking around, scrolling through your phone, but feeling like an observer in your own story. This isn't just you spacing out or being distracted. It's your frequency actively shifting away from the old version of you that simply doesn't fit anymore. This in-between state is absolutely real, and it's meant to feel uncomfortable. It's a sign you're moving out of alignment with your outdated self. On top of that, you might notice bursts of intense restlessness with no obvious trigger. You find yourself pacing, sighing, checking your phone compulsively, and feeling as if something huge is about to happen, even though nothing seems to. This isn't classic anxiety. It's your body preparing for a new timeline your mind hasn't even glimpsed yet. Stillness in this phase isn't laziness, it's sacred digestion, the integration of all that's shifting within you. Here's what's crucial: don't override these symptoms or try to force yourself back to normal. Don't shame yourself for feeling disconnected, foggy, or weird. These aren't signs that something's wrong with you. They're proof that the inner cleanse is truly working. The silence, the sense of detachment, the strange cravings, the disrupted sleep cycles, they're all part of your system making room, not just for new ideas, but for an entirely new way of being that hasn't quite landed yet. Embrace the weirdness, the quiet, the off-kilter feeling, because that's exactly how you know the transformation is real. This particular new moon unlocks the kinds of miracles that can only occur in genuine solitude. Some shifts, some upgrades to your soul, can only happen in absolute silence. Not just the absence of external noise, but the kind of deep quiet that surrounds you when there's truly no one watching, no one expecting anything from you, and you're completely alone with your own energy. There are transformations happening right now that are too delicate, too raw, to survive outside observation. The moment you try to put these changes into words, to post about them or explain them to someone else, they start to dissolve. The moment another person's energy enters the space, even someone you love, the shift can lose its intensity. That's why this new moon isn't just suggesting solitude, it's demanding it. Some miracles require the absence of witnesses, a sacred privacy that lets your soul recalibrate without interference. You don't need an audience for this chapter. Not even those closest to you can walk this path beside you, and that's not a punishment. It's divine precision, a sacred contract just between your frequency and something infinitely larger. This moment won't be loud or dramatic, and it may not announce itself in the ways you're used to recognizing. In fact, the instant you try to share or process what's happening out loud, you risk losing the magic. This is not a time to broadcast your awakening or post about your transformation. This is a time to be fully present with your own experience, honoring the quiet and letting the change fully root in silence. This is not the time to go seeking validation for your insights, nor is it the moment to invite anyone, even spiritually, into the space you're navigating. If someone wasn't there for the unraveling of your old self, they can't be part of the intricate rewiring happening within you now. That's a tough pill to swallow, because we're conditioned to share our growth, to broadcast our realizations, to reach out and feel seen and heard by others. But this portal is different. It's one of those rare and powerful thresholds where being seen, being witnessed, is the exact opposite of what will actually serve your transformation. In this moment, the presence of others isn't just a harmless distraction, it's a true interference. Even their silence carries a certain gravitational pull. Even just their energy in the room can nudge you off-center, almost imperceptibly, but enough to disrupt the unique, delicate frequency that is recalibrating inside you. This isn't a social moon, it's a surgical moon. The work it's doing is so precise, so specifically tailored to you, that any other frequency in your field could shatter the formation before it even fully sets. So let the space be empty, let the room remain quiet. Allow the transformation to unfold in total solitude, with no one to witness but yourself. Something so fundamental that it can never be undone or reversed. But just as you settle into this quiet, know that an interruption is almost inevitable. There may be a sudden knock at your door, a call out of nowhere, a shadow flickering across your awareness. The question is, will you open the door? Clarity doesn't always arrive as a gentle whisper. Sometimes it bursts in as a disruption. The universe isn't always polite when it needs your attention. In this zero-point energy of the new moon portal, signals often come in sideways, delivered through moments or symbols you typically ignore or brush aside. Maybe a light flickers unexpectedly. Maybe there's a knock on the wall. Maybe your phone rings with no one there. Or you overhear a stranger say something that strikes you like a coded message. This isn't superstition or magical thinking. It's how non-linear information enters a space that's been cleared out and made receptive. In true stillness, the signal will come, but the message may arrive through the static, through friction rather than harmony. You might suddenly feel compelled to look in a certain direction for no logical reason. Maybe you're drawn to open an old journal, a box, or a drawer you haven't thought about in years. Memories, dreams, faces or numbers may pop into your mind and refuse to let go. This is how the energy communicates with you, not through straightforward logic, but through interruption, through unexpected friction that stirs your awareness. The common mistake people make is to dismiss these moments as meaningless coincidences. They shrug off the chill running up their arms, or ignore how time seems to slow or warp for just a heartbeat. But if you're paying real attention, if you're truly present in this window of time, you'll sense when the moment bends. It may not make sense right away, and that's okay. Your only job is to notice, to mark the moment. Don't rush to assign meaning. Don't force an answer. Just acknowledge that something is trying to reach you. You don't need to understand the knock on the door to recognize that it's calling you, and be prepared. You may be tested. Maybe something breaks unexpectedly. Maybe someone reaches out just as you've settled into your silence. Maybe you're suddenly flooded with a surge of anger or sadness that seems to come from nowhere. Sometimes the energy will agitate the atmosphere before it actually speaks. Your task is simple but not easy. Remain present. Resist the urge to distract yourself, to numb out, to escape. Let the disruption shake you. Let it stir your edges. Let it rattle your comfort zone. Because when the message finally comes through, it won't land like a thought you can analyze. It will feel like a bone-deep recognition, an inner knowing that rewrites everything moving forward. Something is seeking your attention tonight. And if you're truly present enough to meet it, you could witness a shift that reroutes your entire journey ahead. If you're wondering why everything suddenly feels so flat, so dull, so lacking in stimulation or meaning, understand that you're not failing. You're not lazy, lost, or unproductive. You're being unplugged, detoxed from dopamine and all the little spikes of stimulation our world is built around. This new moon isn't here to hype you up, to offer you a burst of clarity, momentum, or motivation, and it's not supposed to. You're not meant to feel inspired or driven. You're meant to feel empty, and not because something's wrong, but because everything is finally becoming quiet enough for your truest signals to come through. This isn't depression, it's the deflation of everything artificial, everything fake or noisy, that once inflated your sense of self in our world, addicted to constant stimulation from notifications, validation, social scrolling, and the relentless internal pressure to perform or achieve. This moon is severing that connection, and it's not doing it gently. It's a blackout. In that blackout, your nervous system might panic, feeling bored, restless, or like you're floating in meaningless limbo. but that's not a crisis. That's the reset. In this empty, raw space, you finally have a chance to hear what's been waiting for you underneath all the noise. Right now, your spirit is in the midst of a sacred process. It's being stripped of all those false highs and artificial motivators so it can finally realign itself with genuine direction. This isn't something you can rush or force. And here's the real challenge. That authentic sense of direction doesn't just appear the moment the noise it is turned off. There's a strange in-between space, a silent echoing gap between the life of constant stimulation you've known and the slow awakening of real desire. It's in this gap that things can feel especially weird, uncomfortable, even frustrating. Suddenly, the activities and distractions that once gave your days color and momentum, the endless scrolling, the mindless chasing, the striving to keep up, the constant comparing yourself to others, either fall away completely, or even more confusingly, continue without giving you any satisfaction at all. Maybe you catch yourself reaching for your phone, hoping for something new or exciting, but nothing lands. Maybe you try to throw yourself into projects, conversations, or even familiar dramas, and yet they all leave you feeling empty or disconnected, as if the current that once ran through them has disappeared. You might even feel like you're going through the motions of life while watching yourself from the outside, unsure of why you don't feel lit up the way you used to. That's not you failing. That's a sign the process is working. It's not about being productive or inspired in this moment. It's about being honest, for perhaps the first time in a long time, about what you truly want. When there's no outside world constantly feeding you with notifications, compliments, controversies or crises to react to, what do you actually desire? When you aren't being prodded by others' expectations or hyped up by passing trends, what is it your soul is hungry for? The energy of this moon isn't interested in making you feel better. It's here to confront you with the pure, often uncomfortable truth of your own emptiness. Most people can't sit with that. They'll do anything to avoid the awkwardness of not knowing, filling the quiet with more noise, more content, more distractions, more busy work. But the rare few who can tolerate the stillness, who don't run away from the feeling of flatness, are the ones who actually come face to face with their deepest truth. If you feel like your life is suddenly shifted to grayscale, if the world seems muted, boring, or stripped of its vibrance, consider it a victory. That blankness, that emotional dead zone, is not a sign that something's wrong. It's your energetic screen finally clearing, making space for a new reality to be painted onto it. Your job is not to force yourself to be inspired or to hustle for the next breakthrough. Your only task is to notice what you miss, what you instinctively reach for, what aches within you when you let yourself sit still. In that pause, that sacred restraint, you'll finally begin to hear the real voice underneath all your cravings and habits, a voice that's been drowned out by stimulation and static for far too long. When this voice surfaces, it won't shout. It will feel like a subtle magnetic pull, a sense of rightness that wasn't created by chasing but discovered in stillness. That's how you know it's authentic. But the power of this moon's energy goes even deeper. It's not just exposing what you want. It's also revealing where your spirit has been leaking, and who or what has been siphoning your energy without you even realizing it. Most energy drains are not obvious. In fact, some of the most powerful and persistent drains are the relationships, habits, beliefs, and patterns you've already normalized, the things you barely even notice anymore because they've become part of your daily landscape. This moon's darkness acts like an X-ray, highlighting energy leaks you've been tolerating for years. You may suddenly feel a wave of exhaustion for no logical reason. Out of nowhere, you might start thinking about someone you haven't been in contact with for ages, and just their memory seems to tug at you, pulling on your emotional reserves. You could be sitting quietly, unplugged from all technology and away from all people, and still sense a mysterious, almost invisible drain on your vitality, as if something is quietly pulling energy out of your system. That's not your imagination. That's your energetic field, finally aligning with truths your conscious mind has refused to see. Energy doesn't lie, but it can be siphoned, diluted, and stolen so quietly that you only notice it when everything else goes silent. This isn't the realm of ghost stories or supernatural hauntings. This is about the all too real, often overlooked ways your spirit interacts with the world. Maybe you have a friendship that always leaves you feeling depleted or small. Maybe you hold on to a harmless routine or habit that seems innocent, but afterwards, your mind feels foggy and your mood dips for hours. Maybe you carry a belief about who you should be, a nagging inner voice that criticizes or compares, pulling you down every time you attempt to rest, play, or be gentle with yourself. These aren't neutral, they're quietly draining your energy bit by bit, and under this moon's unique shadow you can finally see them for what they are. But the moon's darkness doesn't just create empty space for something new, it brings your shadows to the surface. It forces you to feel, sometimes for the first time, the true cost of all you've been tolerating in silence, the heaviness you've accepted as normal, the obligations that have crowded out your joy, the invisible agreements you've made with others or even with your past self that have kept you small, distracted, or just tired all the time. This is your chance to sit with the discomfort, to really feel it and name it, and to realize you don't have to keep feeding energy to people, habits, and patterns that don't nourish you in return. For perhaps the first time, you get to decide, consciously, courageously, what and who is allowed access to your energy as you step into a new phase. And as this moon works its magic, there's no need to rush or fill the emptiness with instant answers. Allow yourself to stay in this in-between, to let the screen stay clear a little longer, to let your body and spirit recalibrate to this new, deeper truth. It's here, in the strange, vulnerable stillness, that you'll finally discover what your heart really wants and what your soul absolutely needs. You might notice that familiar gut drop when a message appears on your screen. Maybe it's just a simple text, but your whole system recoils, feeling invaded instead of connected. Or you might catch yourself feeling oddly resentful after watching a video or scrolling through your feed, not because of what you saw or heard, but because you realize you handed over your precious attention when your spirit was actually craving silence and rest. There's a tightness that forms in your chest when you remember a promise you made long ago, one that no longer fits who you are or where you're headed. These aren't random reactions or mood swings. They're not just passing feelings. They're signals, subtle but powerful, marking the exact moments when your inner wisdom recognizes a real energy imbalance. It's your whole system finally refusing to ignore what's draining it. And here's the deeper truth. Not everyone or everything that feeds off your energy looks like an enemy or a villain. Sometimes it's people who simply stayed in your space too long, relationships or situations that once served you but have quietly expired. Sometimes it's the routines or habits that you've outgrown, or even your own beliefs about what you owe others. Tonight, you don't have to react immediately. There's no need to go on a rampage, cutting cords, burning bridges, or purging your entire life in a dramatic flash. What matters most in this moment is simply witnessing the truth as it's revealed. Start to notice where the drain occurs. Track it, even if you do nothing else, because once you become aware of these energy leaks, you can't unsee them. Awareness alone starts to shift everything. This moon isn't out to punish you or make you feel guilty for where your energy has gone. Its sacred purpose is to help you bring your energy back home to its rightful owner, you. But that reclamation doesn't happen all at once, or with a single grand gesture. It unfolds quietly, piece by piece. Every time you choose to say no to what no longer serves you, every time you refuse to step back into an old loop, every moment you sit with the discomfort that comes from breaking old patterns of giving and pleasing. Withdrawal is never easy, spiritually or emotionally, it aches. But it's also the path to healing, and as the new moon slowly begins to wax and the darkness starts to shift, you'll feel yourself returning to your true center. As the moon builds, so will you. Your real self doesn't perform for anyone, not even for yourself. The truest version of you doesn't emerge in the spotlight or in the warmth of applause. It reveals itself in the quiet, in the darkness, when there's nowhere left to hide and nothing left to prove. One of the most dangerous illusions we carry is the version of ourselves we've worn for so long, so convincingly, that we start to believe it's real. Day after day, often without noticing, you put on that carefully crafted mask, the version that smiles through exhaustion, that nods along even when it disagrees, that says, "I'm fine," when your soul is unraveling in silence. The world loves this version, the easy-to-understand, digestible self that keeps everything moving, that's polite, productive, and predictable. The world rewards it, praises it, celebrates it. But this moon isn't interested in your performance. It's here to strip that mask away, to dissolve the facade, so the real you, the version that doesn't adjust, doesn't shrink, and refuses to dilute itself, can finally breathe. This authentic self can't exist in a room crowded with opinions, expectations, or applause. It doesn't bloom under the gaze of others. It can only surface in deep, radical solitude, not just the kind that's peaceful or comfortable, but the kind that's raw and honest, where there is no feedback, no mirror reflecting what others see, no script to follow or role to play. The self that belongs to the world, the one you perform and present, will always shout the loudest, always scramble for attention. But the self that belongs to you is quieter, infinitely more honest, and much more difficult to access. That's the part of you trying to come forward now, but it cannot enter a space already crowded with noise, external demands, or the old habit of performing. That's why you're feeling so much falling away. That's why some people seem distant, why certain conversations feel flat, why your own reflection in the mirror might look unfamiliar. It's not punishment, it's a deep peeling back, layer after layer, belief after belief, persona after persona, until what remains isn't a character you've built or a role you've played, but the raw, unfiltered truth of who you really are at your core. This journey isn't comfortable. It can be lonely and confusing, especially in a world that rewards performance and constant connection. But this is your invitation to meet yourself in a way you never have before. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the growth of my faith. Help me trust you, even when physical evidence is lacking. Let me believe in your perpetual presence, knowing you will never harm me. I understand that your thoughts for me are thoughts of prosperity and not harm, to give me a good future. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always listening to my voice. I offer up this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work, please